Jesus wants you to listen to my story. I died, and what Jesus revealed about masturbation will shock you. Part 1, Crossing Over. Before I start my story, please support the channel by subscribing and liking the video and turning on post notifications. God bless you. My name is Sophie Fisher, and I want to share my near-death experience that changed everything for me. Have you ever wondered what happens after death? I did, and my journey has shown me truths that I never expected. Truths that even challenge what I believed about myself and my habits. For many years, I struggled with alcohol and a secret habit that filled me with guilt and shame: masturbation. I had tried again and again to break free, but no matter how hard I tried, I always found myself falling back into it. I felt lost, alone, and burdened by a sense of impurity that I could not shake. Every day felt heavy, and I carried a deep sadness inside. I believed that I was unworthy of love and that my life would always be filled with this constant struggle. Then, one fateful night, everything changed. I was at my lowest point, overwhelmed by despair and pain. In that moment of crisis, I felt my body begin to fail. I experienced a sudden loss of strength, and before I knew it, I was slipping away from the life I knew. I did not know if I would die that night, but I felt myself leaving my body. I was no longer in the physical world. I was floating, free from pain and worry. In that peaceful state, I found myself in a place of soft, warm light. It was not the harsh brightness of the sun, but a gentle glow that felt like a comforting embrace. I knew immediately that I was somewhere beyond the physical realm, a place where souls go when they are near death. I looked down and saw my body lying motionless, and I felt a deep calm that I had never known before. Then, as I moved further into this light, I saw him, Jesus. He stepped toward me with a presence so powerful and kind that it took my breath away. His face was familiar from the pictures and stories of my childhood, yet in that moment, I realized that these images were only what my mind had learned to recognize. Jesus looked even more real, more alive, and his eyes shone with an unconditional love that reached deep into my heart. Jesus did not speak in words at first, but I heard his voice in my mind. It was gentle and clear. He told me that I had been brought here for a reason, that this experience was not random. As I listened, I felt a warmth and a deep sense of peace wash over me. All the pain, the guilt, and the shame that had weighed me down seemed to melt away. Then, something shocking happened. Jesus began to reveal to me a truth about my secret struggle. In a way I could not fully understand at the time, he explained that our personal habits have a deep impact on our spiritual journey. He shared that masturbation, when done without a pure heart and in excess, can create a barrier between us and God. I was stunned. I had always thought of it as just a personal habit, something private that did not affect my soul. But Jesus made it clear that it was much more than that. It was a part of my spiritual life, a part that could either draw me closer to divine love or push me away into darkness. In that moment, I felt a mix of shock and relief. Shock, because this was a truth I had never considered, and relief because I now understood that my struggles were not a punishment, but a challenge meant to help me grow. Jesus showed me that God's love is all around us, even in our most hidden parts. He said that the journey to spiritual purity begins when we face our own darkness and choose to step into the light of God's grace. I remember feeling tears streaming down my face as I took in this message. I realized that every habit, every choice we make, shapes our spiritual path. It was as if a veil had been lifted from my eyes, and I could finally see how deeply connected my actions were to my relationship with God. I saw that God did not condemn me for my struggles. Instead, he wanted to help me overcome them, to transform my life into one of true spiritual growth and love. At that moment, I also sensed that my life was about to change in a profound way. I was not simply being given a second chance to live. I was being given a mission a mission to share the truth I had received with others who might be struggling in silence, burdened by guilt and shame. I knew that I could no longer hide my struggles or be ashamed of my past. I had been shown a path to healing, a path of honest self-reflection, of embracing God's love, and of using my experiences to help others find the light. In that soft, sacred light, I made a silent promise to myself. I vowed to let go of the guilt and to trust in God's plan for my life. I promised to seek the purity that comes from understanding and accepting the truth about myself. I knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but with Jesus by my side and the knowledge of his divine message in my heart, I felt ready to face whatever came next. As I floated in that soft, sacred light, I felt Jesus draw closer to me. His presence was calm and warm, and I could sense that he had something very important to share with me. I listened, my heart open and ready to receive his message. Jesus began to speak in a gentle, clear voice that filled my mind. He said, "Sophie, I know the struggles you have carried. I know the burden of guilt that has weighed on you, especially about your personal habits. You have long fought a battle with yourself, and I want you to understand something very important about your journey." I felt a wave of emotion as his words reached deep into my soul. I had always seen my habit as a private matter, something I thought was just a part of my human nature. But now, Jesus showed me that it was more than that. He explained that every choice we make, even in our most private moments, has an effect on our spiritual path. He said, "When you turn to these habits with a heavy heart filled with guilt and shame, it creates a barrier between you and the divine love I offer. This habit, when practiced without mindfulness and purity, can cloud your spirit. It dims the light inside you and makes it hard to feel my presence." I felt tears in my eyes as I realized how true his words were. All my life, I had felt a constant tug of guilt, a feeling that I was not living as I should. Jesus continued, "But know this, you are not condemned for your struggles. In truth, every battle you face is an opportunity to grow and heal. I do not judge you for your mistakes. I only wish to help you see the truth of your own value and the strength that lies within you." In that moment, I understood that my struggles were not meant to break me, but to build me up. Jesus showed me that the pain I felt was a call to seek a deeper understanding of myself and to strive for a purer connection with the divine. He said, "Transform your guilt into a quest for truth. Let it be the spark that leads you to a life of spiritual clarity and love." I saw a vision of my life like a winding path. On one side of the path, there was darkness, where I had once felt lost and overwhelmed by shame. On the other side, there was a bright road filled with hope and the promise of a new beginning. "Choose the light, Sophie," Jesus urged, "and let your heart be open to forgiveness and healing. Embrace the love I offer, for it is stronger than any shadow of doubt or despair." As I absorbed his words, I felt an immense peace spread through me. The heavy weight of my guilt began to lift, replaced by a gentle, healing warmth. I realized that every moment of struggle was a lesson, a chance to learn more about myself and the endless love of God. My habit was not a mark of failure. It was a signal that I needed to change, to seek a more mindful and pure way of living. Jesus' message was clear and powerful. By facing my struggles head-on, with honesty and a desire for transformation, I could open the door to a deeper, more authentic relationship with him. I was not alone in my journey. He was there to guide me, and the love of the divine was always with me, even in my darkest moments. I felt a strong call in my heart to let go of the shame that had held me captive for so long. Instead, I would embrace the light of truth and work to cleanse my spirit. I knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but with Jesus' guidance and the support of his unconditional love, I could begin to heal and move forward. As the gentle light around me grew brighter, I felt a deep sense of gratitude. I realized that this moment was not just about overcoming a personal struggle. It was about understanding my true nature and the divine purpose that awaited me. I began to see that my life was meant to be a journey toward greater love, purity, and spiritual growth. As I continued my journey in that sacred light, I felt a deep call stirring within me, a call to understand how my personal choices shaped my spiritual destiny. In that quiet, endless space, I heard Jesus speak to me once more, and this time his message was clear. Purity is not about perfection, but about aligning our hearts with God's will. He gently reminded me, remember, your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. 1 Corinthians 6, verses 19 to 20. His words echoed in my mind, and I felt the truth of them deep in my soul. I began to understand that every habit, every choice, even those I had hidden away in shame, had an impact on my connection to God. I realized that my struggles were not punishments, but opportunities to grow and be cleansed by His love. In that moment, I saw a vision of my life laid out before me like a long, winding road. On one side, I saw the dark, heavy path of guilt and isolation that I had walked for many years. On the other side, there was a bright road, lined with hope and the promise of renewal. Jesus' voice came softly, "Seek first my kingdom and my righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." Matthew 6, verse 33. I knew then that choosing the light was the only way to heal. I also recalled another verse that gave me strength. "Submit yourselves therefore to God. Resist the devil's sin, and he will flee from you." James 4, verse 7. These words helped me see that the struggles I faced were not meant to defeat me. Instead, they were meant to teach me to stand firm in my faith, to fight against the forces that sought to separate me from God's love. I saw images of my past, times when I felt overwhelmed by shame and self-doubt. I remembered the moments when I believed that my private battles would forever keep me from experiencing true peace. But here, in this holy space, all those feelings began to dissolve. I felt a warmth and a lightness that told me, "You are loved, you are forgiven." The burden of my mistakes started to lift, and I knew that I could choose a new path, one of honesty, healing, and spiritual growth. I began to understand that purity is not simply about avoiding certain actions. It is about nurturing a heart that is open to God. It is about recognizing that our true nature is one of love and unity, not separation. I felt a powerful sense of freedom as Jesus' truth filled every corner of my being. I realized that when I let go of my guilt and embraced God's grace, I was no longer a prisoner of my past. In that moment, a soft, gentle light surrounded me, and I saw the faces of those who had walked this path before me. They were my spiritual ancestors, not bound by blood, but connected through faith. Their silent presence assured me that I was not alone, that the journey toward purity and divine purpose was one we all shared. I felt their love like a warm embrace, encouraging me to step forward into a life of true freedom. Jesus' words, "For I know the plans I have for you," Jeremiah 29, verse 11, rang in my ears. I understood that my life was not random or meaningless. It was part of a grand divine design. Every trial I faced, every dark moment, was a stepping stone leading me toward a brighter future. A future where I could fully live out my purpose and share the light of God with others. I closed my eyes and let the truth settle in. The heavy chains of guilt and fear began to fall away, replaced by the promise of new beginnings. I felt the gentle power of God's love urging me to rise and embrace my true self, a self that is radiant, resilient, and deeply connected to the divine. Stay tuned for part 4, where I will share how I return to life and how this powerful revelation has changed the way I live each day, guiding me to help others find the light and love of God. I slowly felt myself being drawn back to my body. The gentle pull of the light grew stronger, and I knew it was time to return. Even though I longed to stay in that warm, loving space, I also knew I had more to do in this world. With a final look at the soft glow of that sacred place, I felt the presence of Jesus wrap around me one last time. His voice whispered, "It is time, Sophie. Your journey on earth is not done." In an instant, I was back in my body. I awoke in a hospital bed, surrounded by the steady beep of machines and soft murmurs from the nurses. The pain of my injuries returned, but it was no longer the same. I felt a deep peace and a new strength inside me, a strength that came from the divine truth I had received. I remembered every moment of my journey in that velvety void, every word of Jesus' message, and the loving support of my ancestors. For many long days, I struggled with the memories of my old life. I had lived with deep shame and guilt about my personal struggles, especially about my habit of masturbation, a habit I once believed had trapped me in a cycle of darkness and isolation. But now, with the light of that sacred encounter, I saw everything in a new way. I understood that my struggles were not a curse, but a challenge meant to help me grow. I had been given a gift, the chance to begin again with a clear heart and a pure spirit. As I recovered, I began to see small changes in my life. I started to value the simple moments, a quiet prayer, a kind word, a gentle smile from a friend. I learned that true purity is not about perfection, but about honesty with oneself and with God. I found comfort in the Bible, remembering the words, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me." Psalm 51:10. Those words became a daily prayer, a reminder that every day was a chance to be reborn in God's love. I also discovered that my experience was not just about overcoming personal shame. It was a calling to help others who might be struggling in silence. I began to share my story with anyone who would listen, speaking simply and openly about my journey, from the darkest moments of guilt to the brilliant light of divine truth. I told them that Jesus did not judge me for my past. Instead, he showed me the way to heal and to live a life filled with hope. My life changed in small but powerful ways. I learned to forgive myself and to trust that every choice I made could lead me closer to the love of God. I found that I was no longer alone. The support of my family, friends, and even strangers who heard my story helped me build a new life, one based on faith, kindness, and a deep connection to the divine. I took each day as a new chance to live in gratitude and to work on being the best version of myself. Now, every time I feel old habits creeping back, I remember the truth I was shown. I remember the soft light of that sacred void and the gentle voice of Jesus telling me that my life matters, that I am loved, and that I have a divine purpose. I have come to understand that our struggles, even the most personal ones, are part of our journey to become whole. They are lessons meant to bring us closer to God and to help us spread His love to the world. Today, I live with a renewed sense of purpose. I know that God is always with me, and I have learned to trust in His plan. I share my testimony not to shame or condemn, but to offer hope and to show that even in our darkest moments, the light of Jesus can shine through. We all have the power to change, to embrace a new beginning, and to walk a path of love and truth. Thank you for listening to my story. May you find the strength to overcome your struggles, the courage to seek truth, and the grace to live a life filled with love. God bless you and your families.